these silly storylines. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Jamie's Wrestle Talk, or what I might be naming it in the future, because Wrestle Talk, I've got a bit shit with me using the word Wrestle Talk, so I will probably be changing the name of the show. I apologise that I have been away from this for a while. Unfortunately, I had a really bad cough and scratchy throat. Wasn't COVID-19, it was just a really bad cold, but it made it so that I couldn't talk for 2 minutes, so you might still hear me cough every now and then. Trying to stay hydrated, just getting over it. So I've got a lot of catching up to do, so I apologise that this will be AEW Dynamite and AEW Dark, but it will be last week's. I will be shortly doing Raw and SmackDown, and this week's AEW Dark and AEW Dynamite shortly. But let's just begin, because I've got a lot to catch up on. So this will be a quick one, just to recap, because I'm having to go by week-old notes that I took at the time when I was watching it live. Beginning with AEW Dark, they're still keeping it short, as always, because the match was Shawn Spears versus Billy Gunn with his son in the corner. His son was doing a fantastic job, was making up for the lack of crowd and everything. He was doing all these big chants and big noises, really made you get lost in the match, so it was fantastic. Billy Gunn, for his age, can still work a ring. It's still good. The guy is still huge and buff, and he's still an arse man, and he was brilliant. Another thing as well is that Shawn Spears is coming along nicely as a heel. I found that his heel worked really well. I feel like he's really improved. So all in all, it was good. Other than it being a bit short and the fact that at some points the match seemed to get a bit drooled on. There wasn't much ring work. There was a lot of points where there was a lot of walking around and a bit of gloating, and Shawn Spears overused the heel effect of rolling out the ring every time he got hurt to a point where it kind of got irritating. But it was all right. All in all, I'd give the match a good, 4 out of 10, as always. Seems to be one of my favourite numbers. We're going to move straight into AEW Dynamite now, because I'm going to keep the ball rolling before my throat starts getting really scratchy. Not to mention I've got to make 3 of these in the next couple of days, because I don't want to fall too far behind like I already have. Going to AEW Dynamite. Nice to see that Jake the Snake can still cut a promo, even though currently he's quarantined in a basement, in a gym, at Diamond Dallas Page's house. It's fantastic. It was really good. And I think he did a better job with this one, because in this one, he actually mentioned Lance Archer's name and actually kind of promoted that guy, whereas all his previous promos, he's always kind of made direct threats to Cody without actually, advertising his own guy. It's a bit like before he was going up, imagine if you were a lawnmower salesman and you go, "Oh, Mr. or Mrs., isn't your grass long? Isn't that a problem? You should really fix that." And then just leave it with that. No, you got to sell him the product, and Lance Archer was the product, and he did a fantastic job in this promo, selling Lance Archer over. I was very impressed, very happy with this. Shortly after this, though, I got a bit sad, I was not a big fan of the Colt Cabana match, just mostly because I'm not a massive fan of Colt Cabana. I think he's not that funny. He seems to think he's hilarious, but he's not actually that funny. He's a smiling git that can't sell a bump to save his life. There were moments where Lance Archer was throwing him around the ring, slamming him really hard on the mat, and the prick was still cracking off a smile. Is that natural? Clearly not, and it completely ruined the match personally. I'm glad he got squashed, because the more he gets squashed, hopefully the less we'll see him. Maybe he can continue doing his weird shit with Kenny Omega on being the Elite, because personally right now I prefer him to stay there. If you can't guess, I don't like Colt Cabana. I think he was a very bad sign, the fact that he's just friends with the Elite like Cody and the Young Bucks, and that's kind of how he got into this role. I don't very much appreciate it. I prefer people that have actually got talent. Not to mention the Superman roll-up is the dumbest roll-up I've ever seen. It looks so easy to kick out of. It looks so unsellable. You can tell it's a joke. You can tell it's a work. The difference is that Orange Cassidy, you could make a comparison and say it's very similar, but when Orange Cassidy actually puts his work into it, he's bloody good. Whereas Colt Cabana is shit no matter what. Personally, weirdly, after shitting all over Colt Cabana, I actually kind of wish this is how they introduced Lance Archer in the first place, just because Colt Cabana has been a name and he's at least had a win or two in his streak, unlike Marco Stunt, who if I'm pretty sure, had won no matches, so it didn't really matter if he lost another match, whereas Colt Cabana was on a bit of a win streak, so it was a bigger deal if he lost. It helped Lance Archer come across as more of a monster for ending a win streak. It works better as a storyline. So, all in all, good. Nothing bad. I'm actually quite happy with this. Britt Baker's continuing her heel work. She did a little promo, if I'm correct, with the whole dentistry, showing off the broken nose. Fantastic. I think she's really, really good. I feel like she's been taking some lessons from Adam Cole in the whole kind of heel persona, because Adam Cole's always done a fantastic job as a good heel. And she does just as a fantastic job. She should be really proud of herself. I feel we can only see her better. And not to mention her ring work is improving. There's one little nick that I have, but I'll get to that when we get to our match, which is coming up shortly. After that, there was a few things I've written down here that too many promos for the Jon Moxley versus Jake Hager match for what we've got, because the promos hyped it up to be this big kind of. It was presented in a very MMA fight style way, where they were like talking about the contestants' techniques. I don't know what I was about to say, customers. Like the contestants' techniques and forms and like, you know, weights and stuff like that. Like basically how they kind of similar to do to boxing or any kind of mixed martial arts format. But there was too many of these. I was happy when they did one where they just asked a few questions and, you know, they kind of asked Taz who did he think he was going to win, who did Sammy Guevara think he was going to win. Of course, they were saying like different names, so it felt very competitive. It was good. But then we went to a break, came back, and then Taz went into talking more about like Jake Hager's finisher and Jon Moxley. It just felt overdue. It just felt like they were trying to kill time, in which they could have just extended the Colt Cabana squash match, or extended Britt Baker's kind of squash match and kind of like fill in it that way rather than with all these promos, because after all these promos we didn't quite get what we deserve, sadly. Get to that in a bit. Moving on, sorry. After that, we had Cassandra versus Britt Baker. This is the second squash match of the night. Seem to be doing a few of these. Don't want to say it was exactly a squash match, it's just Britt Baker was laying in a lot of her moves. This Cassandra woman that I don't know much about wasn't laying in much of hers, and none of her moves looked that fantastic that she did manage to get in. It served its point, though. It got across that Britt Baker, the kind of story is that she's sick and tired of being treated the way she is, and she thinks she's the best. So she's going to show it off, and what better way to show it off than with someone that's not that good in the ring and a bit unskilled than her. So, you know, but the one little nick that I had that I mentioned earlier was the fact that she went back to this weird finisher, which she did with Yuka, where she puts their mouth around the rope and kind of kicks them in the back of the head. And that's kind of like a new finisher she seems to like doing. I personally preferred the lockjaw. I thought it was unique. I thought it looked better. It looked more submissive. The fact that it like also kind of went into a dentistry a bit and using her knowledge of like, you know, the pain thresholds in your mouth and your gums. Although this does still involve your teeth, it's a bit of a gimmicky thing, you know, kicking her tooth and her tooth's going to fall out and it's going to be savage. And no, I'd much prefer the lockjaw. I don't know why, it really did look more professional, it looked more dominating, and it always tied up to a better finish than this. This just, like, realistically, to get someone to actually keep biting on the rope while you kick them in the back of the head would be very unrealistic. If someone got me to bite onto a rope and then seemed to, like, build up to a stomp to the back of the head, I'm pretty sure I would stop biting the rope and kind of move out the way. But oh well, things can't be perfect. I understand that she's probably still experimenting. Like I said, she's still a little bit green, so it's fine. What the fuck was up with the bubbly bunch after that as well? I literally don't know what to think of it. It was weird. It was different, so I can't say it was all that bad. I enjoyed it. I was slightly annoyed at the waste of orange juice by Jericho. Maybe Jericho is getting back at Orange Cassidy for something, because he seemed to spill a lot of orange juice. I can't get that out of my head. That's the only thing I took away from this. So it goes to show you how much of a promo it was. There were some funny bits. There was like, you know, once again, you had Sammy Guevara doing his like punches, and he was saying like his Spanish words. Obviously, he's going "Sico, Sico, Sico" like that, and in his high pitched, kind of squeaky-ish voice, and it worked. It was funny, you know, and all that. But once again, Jake Hager fails to emote, and you know, Proud and Powerful just weird in their own right. So that was good, and Chris Jericho is fantastic. But I wonder if he did it on purpose or he just didn't mean to spill the orange juice and couldn't be bothered to edit it out. But you should see it. It's one of those where you go, really? But anyways, this was followed by Sammy Guevara versus, and this is the best name I've ever heard for a wrestler, by Chris Jericho, which is Pineapple Pete. Pineapple Pete. Like, what a cool name. I would support this guy. To put it simply, it felt like another squash match, but this match went on a little bit longer than the others. I felt it was more about building up to Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin, which was on last night. I saw it, so no spoilers for now, but I will get to it. But yeah, it was just building up to the fact that, like, you know, it was giving like Sammy Guevara a win, so he could come off of a win to face Darby Allin. You know, simple, good storyline stuff. Served its purpose. I hadn't written down much to say about this because I found that it was the most boring match of the night. From what I remember, I found that I was constantly getting distracted by other things, like going to make myself a cup of coffee or do something else, because it just looked boring. The thing that bothered me the most was at the end of the match, Darby Allin came out to confront Sammy Guevara after he talked a bit of trash about him and did the typical face and heel thing where Darby Allin ran into the ring and Sammy Guevara jumped out the ring to escape, ran up the ramp as if he was going to, you know, flee the scene of the crime, as they say. And no, he just kind of stood at the top of the ramp, stuck his tongue out and did like a slow walk back, which I don't understand why wrestlers do that now. It's a stupid thing. They do it all the time in WWE, where wrestlers will like talk trash about someone, the face will run out or the heel will run out, and then they dive out the ring and then slowly walk up the ramp gloating, where I'm just like, if this guy's really pissed you off so much for you to run out your locker room, run all the way down to the ring and confront them, why the fuck did you stop chasing them? Why did you like just stop and watch them gloat? Surely you would continue chasing them, like back in the old days where they would chase them all across, and maybe we'd get some camera footage backstage of them running through the car park lot and stuff could spire there. You know, sorry, that was a burp. And, you know, it was much better for building storyline. It showed that they actually hate each other. This looked very stage, looked like a, you know, kind of like, almost like a cartoon show where, like, you know, the bad guy got away again. Didn't like it. Kind of ruined the end of the match, personally, even though it was a boring match. I would have given it a slightly better score in my head if it wasn't for that ending bit. So I wasn't much of a fan. After that, I believe it was Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford versus, Jesus, who were they facing? They were facing someone. Best Friends. That was it. They were facing Best Friends. Yeah, there you go. Sorry, my mind went blank. I need to write better notes, clearly. All in all, this was good. Overall, Kip Sabian, Penelope Ford, they're working better. A bit too much smooching in front of the camera, I found it dragged out a bit too much. I get that they're in love, they're recently engaged, so all good for them for flaunting their love. But it got to a point where, you know, there's a time and a place, and once again it felt like it was just killing time, and clearly the cameraman is a horny dick. Match was overall good. I believe it was Trent that was... No, it was Chucky T was facing Kip Sabian. And yeah, Chucky T. And of course there were some bits. Jimmy Havoc was mouthing off at the side and a few bits happened there. And then Jimmy Havoc got involved for no apparent reason, for no affiliation. I didn't understand why he got involved, like what relationship he has with Kip Sabian, because they haven't shown any kind of relationship between Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc and Penelope Ford. I get that, like, they're the Brits. Well, I don't think Penelope Ford is. She might be. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she actually is. For some reason I got my idea that she's American, but maybe not. No, she is British. But all in all, maybe that's like some connection. I wish someone would flesh it out so I'd understand a bit more. Because right now I just don't get it. I don't understand what they are representing. Like, do they have a shared common goal? Clearly they have a grudge against the Best Friends. I wish they'd flesh out a bit more. It seems like Jimmy Havoc especially is going after Orange Cassidy for no apparent reason. Apparently he just doesn't like how cool he is or something, which is a pretty lame excuse to attack someone. One good thing about this, though, was Chris Jericho's commentary. I forgot to mention this, that throughout the night, Chris Jericho was on commentary with Tony Schiavone, and he was fantastic. Very funny. Very, very humorous, I guess you could say. He was quite enjoyable. Some of the stuff he comes up with, it was just brilliant. Like I said, the Pineapple Pete thing was brilliant. That's why I've chosen that his name from now on shall be Pineapple Pete. I don't care what his actual name is, because he wasn't that good of a wrestler for me to make the effort to remember his real name. So Pineapple Pete it is. Everything he was saying, it was fantastic. He was also very knowledgeable. I also found out he lifted Tony Schiavone out of normally his quiet and kind of moody voice, and kind of got him in a bit of a laugh, and kind of got him a bit hyper in some places, which is fantastic to hear Tony Schiavone having fun on the mic again. Really warms the heart in some ways, if you want to get emotional like that. After this, shortly, we had Shawn Spears versus a nobody, because it sounds like they're literally just giving independent wrestlers a chance to show up on national TV and, like, I don't know, make a few bucks, I guess, if they're low on staff. Maybe it's a way of helping out the community. You never know. They haven't really fleshed this out, why we keep seeing so many new faces. Like, they don't mention anyone signed other than that Anna Jay, who is good, so I can understand why she was back. She was on last night, I believe, as well. Very good. I just find that they seem to be filling a lot of names, not really fleshing out loads, and some of them don't even look like they're in good physical condition, personally. There was one guy, I can't remember if it was on this night or last night's, but there's one guy who just didn't even look like he was a wrestler, looked like someone they just asked to put on a pair of tights and walk out, because he had like a beer belly and, kind of jiggled a bit about the ring, didn't look like, an actual wrestler, and definitely the way he was selling didn't seem to be a wrestler. But it seems that they're putting him against Shawn Spears because they want Shawn Spears to start building up a winning streak. So I really can't complain. Like, Shawn Spears building up a winning streak, even though he recently lose to Cody? So it was like, okay, maybe they're rebuilding up his winning streak so that, he can get revenge, or, because so far he's had 2 losses to Cody, so I feel sorry for the guy. He's really struggling to get up, and he keeps getting put against people that he doesn't stand a chance with, because Cody's so over that you're never going to pull a win on him anytime soon. The only people that can pull a win over him are some of the main guys, like Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho. Those kind of guys could probably pull a win over Cody, but unfortunately, someone like Shawn Spears just doesn't stand a chance at this point, because he's just still kind of perfecting his game, as they say. And like I said, he's getting better. I was impressed once again, and he seems to be putting a lot of work in because he's showing up a lot. So I really can't complain. Like, well done to him. I hope to see more of him. I feel like he was always underused as Ty Dillinger. So I look forward to more. So nothing bad really to say about this, other than the fact that I didn't care about the other guy. But, oh well, some things can't be helped during these hard times and circumstances. After this, we got a few more promos, clearly, because it was coming up to the match, and lost all interest at this point. Then the match actually happened. It was going to be an all-arena match, which I kind of thought meant a bit like a non-disqualification match, which I'll get into in a bit. John Moxley versus Jake Hager. The match, I don't know what it was, but they were trying to sell it like it was going to be one of the best, like, Tony Khan was saying it was going to be one of the greatest arena matches of all time, and it had already been recorded, so he was saying this after seeing it himself. So I don't know quite what he saw in it, because I found it really boring. They didn't really use the arena that much, considering it was an arena match. Like, I think they chucked it, like, at one point, they both ended up on the outside, they'd gone over the barricades, they used, I think, a bit of the chairs, like John Moxley threw a couple of chairs and stuff at him at some points, and, chair was used in the finish. At one point, there was one kind of imaginative bit where John Moxley got Jake Hager in a figure 4 wrapped around one of the guard posts for, like, the stairs. That was imaginative. That was actually really good. So I gave that kind of some points, and when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's different. It's kind of cool. Reminds me of old school kind of hardcore Ric Flair. I like it. But other than that, I just don't know. The match just seemed to go on too long. Jake Hager still doesn't quite sell certain moves he does on people well enough yet. He's still kind of progressing. They both looked sweaty as hell, like they were so exhausted. Probably because all the gyms are closed, they're having to just do what they can. So obviously cardio is probably a problem right now for a lot of people, as it is for me, who's already running out of breath just by pacing up and down his room, talking into a mic, which is, that's a bad sign. I need to definitely get out there and do some exercise. The problem is when you have an empty arena match is that it really points out the fact that they had no crowd. So that became a massive problem, because then you kind of constantly reminded that there's no one there, and you realise how silent it is at some points. That was another problem, is that both of them weren't really making enough noise or selling certain things to make it like you kind of get lost in the match. Shortly after they got dragged back into the ring, there was a nice near full reversal, which I gave credit for. I wrote down it was very good, where Jon Moxley went for the pin. He got like a 2 count, but then the pin quickly got reversed into the triangle lock that Jake Hager likes. And there was a brief moment where I actually thought Jake Hager might pull off a bloody win, because it looked, quite convincing. It looked like one of those kind of small package reversals that sometimes steals the match, but it was clear that it was too soon for Jake Hager to be holding a title that big. So Jon Moxley did manage to get out of it. Problem is, he got out of it by holding the ropes, I believe. And like I said, I kind of went into this thing, it was a no DQ match. So when he first did it, I was like, oh, that ain't going to help you, John, unless you're going to use the ropes to pull yourself up to, like, somehow turn this into, like, your paradigm shift or whatever. But no, the ref broke it up, so apparently there was rules. Apparently you can go wherever you want, use whatever you want, but you can still grab ropes to get out of a submission. So it was just pretty random. Like, so you're basically saying if he got him in the triangle lock on the outside of the ring standing up, and Jon Moxley managed to grab the rope while he was outside the ring, would the hold have to be broke? Because they're not being counted out because they're outside and you're allowing that, but if he grabs the ropes, you have to break up the submission. It just wasn't very well explained, I personally think. I felt that it made it very confusing. All I've written is hopefully they will have a better main event next week, which we will be talking about later today or tomorrow, when I can do it as quickly as possible to catch up, because I found that next week did kind of improve. But that week was disappointing. I felt like they hyped up the main event too much, so it felt too much like a letdown. I know there's been a lot of hate about it. I've been keeping up with my Facebook and Twitter and all that, and not good things. I feel like they've really hurt some of the fans out there by promising them main events, and so far AEW's main events have always kind of lived up to their hype, like the steel cage match, Jungle Boy versus Chris Jericho. There's been some fantastic main events, to put it simply, and this felt like a real letdown because it built up to be such a great main event. They sold Jake Hager as a good monster last week, with him, kicking out of the paradigm shift and being one of the first guys to actually do it. And, it was such high promise, and Tony Khan oversold it by saying it was like the greatest arena match. It clearly wasn't. I wouldn't even say it was that good of an arena match. So I'm sorry to say it was disappointing. Overall, I'd give the whole night I was going to say 3 out of 10, but actually there were some good points. And like I said, Lance Archer's finally been sold right. Jake's finally selling his promos like spot on. They're perfect. I really can't ignore that. Britt Baker was good. All in all, yeah, I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Still not that great, but it wasn't bad. It was okay. Like I said, I will talk about next week's in a little while, and we'll hopefully have better news then. But for now, that is my kind of rushed, quick analysis of AEW Dark and AEW Dynamite. I apologise for rushing through this. I also apologise that I normally do questions, but I've held back the questions for my following AEW Dynamite. So there will be no questions, just a quick catch-up, just to say that I haven't forgot that I was promised that I would do these every Tuesday and every Friday. It's just, unfortunately, I felt ill and it made it impossible to do so. So I hope anyone out there that was actually like watching this intently and felt like I'd given up after just 2 episodes. No, I haven't. I'm still working hard. I want to make this a weekly thing. I don't want to say a living, but I'd like to make a fun hobby out of this, of doing this and continuing this, because I enjoy talking about wrestling, and I would enjoy to hear some feedback and just know that there's people out there that are also interested in what the interests are. I have thought that maybe some days down the line we could start doing like things where I invite guests on to it and we talk about wrestling and like answer questions together as a community rather than just me. But we'll see how time goes. This is not something that happens just overnight. This is something that takes time and takes dedication. But for now, that'll be all. I hope wherever you are, you're having a good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And I will talk to you all soon. And be safe. Take care.